Welcome back, Storytellers. My name is Khalil Roberson, a seasoned Dungeon Master, here to help you pursue your fantasy. And I want to talk today about how to introduce new players to the game of Dungeons & Dragons. Now, I know there are definitely a lot of different ways you can do this, but this is something that I personally am doing, as I'm starting to go back into running the D&D games again. I'm getting a new group of players, and I came up with a very interesting concept as far as how to introduce these new characters into the game in the most epic and just story-filled way possible. And the basic general idea of the way to introduce them is running a 4-shot that is designed not really to be much mechanic heavy, so you start the players off at level 3. From there, you really focus very heavily on the 4-arc structure of a story. So you give them an intro to whatever issue that they're going to be dealing with. You give them a rising action, a climax, and then a resolving action. And the point of running this 4-shot is it gives your new players a chance to play in the game. I personally am going to wind up creating pre-generated characters for these players, so then they don't have to worry about rolling dice. They can learn the stats, and in this 4-shot, they can start to learn how to the art of storytelling, really. Learn how to role play, learn how to interact with the world, how the rolls work, the dice work, how all these numbers and pens and stuff like that. That's the entire point of it. From there, once you've done finishing that 4-shot, you can switch them over into a meat grinder, which, if you guys don't know what meat grinder is, highly, highly, highly recommend you look it up. Meat Grinder Critical Role, I believe. Awesome session, that Critical Role play. It was so phenomenal. I love the idea. But essentially what a meat grinder is when you have the players basically spend all session fighting. And they're fighting against some impossible baddie. And the entire point is you give them 5, 6, 7 characters to work with. And their characters is going to keep dying. And then you replace their character with a different character. And what I think this will do is 2 things. One, it'll give a humongous crash course into, alright, well, how do we do combat? Because, I mean, we did a little bit of combat in that 4-shot, but not too much, so like I'm a little rusty on how it works. That's the first thing. The second thing is it gives these brand new players a chance to play a multitude of classes. So once again, you give them pre-generated characters. You can run the meat grinder to have them go through 3 characters, 4 characters, 5 characters, however many you want, however long they're willing to sit there and play this crazy game. And from there, you're essentially allowing the players to have a chance to really taste each of these classes, see how they like it mechanically, because, I mean, let's face it, the majority of the humongous great action in D&D is combat. Don't get me wrong, we will definitely have great storytelling elements through role-playing and through exploration, but as for like the creme de la creme of action, it's combat. So, with that in mind, you give them a chance to be able to test out all these different classes and see what their playstyle is, see how they like to play, see how they don't like to play, and from there, once you finish with that meat grinder, you then start your session 0. And at that session 0, you do what you normally do in session 0. Describe to them what the world's going to look like, character generation, backstories, rules, not even really rules at that point because they've already been playing. And I think this is just a really interesting way to introduce players into the game. What I would like to do with my 4-shot is have it to be something very interesting, very cool, very alive, to really capture the imagination of these players so then they can say, okay, this idea, this concept of storytelling is so fascinating and interesting from this very weird and quirky story. I want to keep doing this. From them wanting to just keep doing this, from having this very interesting and quirky and weird and creepy story, you then get them into the meat grinder so they can be able to really test out, feel what the combat system looks like, all these different characters, the classes, the attributes, how to then min-max and all that good stuff, and then you get them into the story where it's like, okay, you know what, I know how the game works, I've played that 4-shot, I know a couple of classes and a kind of a concept of how I would like to play my playstyle specifically involving combat and role-playing. You know what? I know what I'm going to make. I have an idea of what I would like to do, and let's move forward in it. I think it's a really cool concept. Honestly, I think this is pretty spectacular. I just want to share that with you guys, and sorry I have not been posting as much. I've been waiting to get this new tripod so that I actually record a little bit better so I can do longer form content. Let me know how you guys like it, whether or not this is something you'd like to see more of, you'd like to go back to me doing the shorts. It's really up to you guys, but I hope you guys have a fantastic day. God bless you, and in a world without fantasy, sometimes you need little Dungeons and Dragons.